Hey everyone, finish watching the next episode of the Mighty Morphin Reversion series, Foul Play in the Sky. Back when I first started this whole rewatch project a couple years ago, my plan was to draw something inspired by every episode. Initially, I wasn't drawing pictures that necessarily represented the episode that inspired it. It wasn't until I started drawing pictures with YouTube thumbnails in mind that I really cemented the style I mostly use now for my rewatch series. Once I reached the 2010 Reversion series, I decided to remake my original Mighty Morphin pictures. This episode was going to be difficult, since the character I drew for this one was extremely minor, and in an outfit that wouldn't exist for another 20-something years. I decided on not remaking that particular picture, since it had no relevance to anything I discussed in my current post/video. Okay, on to the actual episode summary. Kimberly is going on a plane flight with her Uncle Steve. Zach, meanwhile, pines for a girl he's had a crush on, but she bluntly rejects him. This is just a quick moment that goes right by, but Zach's crush is Angela, and this is her introduction. Most of her appearances involve her just rejecting Zach and later going on dates with him. After Zach's departure from the series, she was phased out. Despite her relatively small role, she made an impression to the point an early draft of the 2017 movie had her as a member of the team. This is what inspired the original picture for this one. Rita is spying on Kim and plans to sabotage her flight. Bulk and Skull invite themselves along with her and her Uncle Steve. For some unfathomable reason, the scene of Squat putting sleeping potion in Uncle Steve's soda can was completely removed. So all we're left with is Squat claiming he did it.
Put the potion in just like you said. I did.
I can see scenes being trimmed here and there, but this is a plot-relevant scene. What were they thinking? All I can guess is possibly Disney's censors were against it. Maybe they thought Squat pouring green ooze into a soda can would inspire real-life kids to pour ooze into soda cans. Like, that's a stretch, but it's all I can think of. A few episodes ago, the scene of the Rangers retrieving the magic lamp was cut, so all that's left is Zordon telling the Rangers to do it, and then suddenly it's done. I'm really hoping this doesn't become a trend. I was initially kind of bemused by the reversion alterations, but cutting major scenes for no discernible reason really sours me on this whole project. I'm glad that this series fell into obscurity enough to be ignored for the official DVD releases. Rita now plans on sending a new monster, the Snizzard. Steve starts to fall asleep under the influence of the potion we have to assume Squat put in his drink. Bulk and Skull faint, and Kimberly calls Zordon. She tells Alpha she's in a crashing plane. At first, Alpha suggests that she just teleport out, but she responds that she can't, there's other people inside. And this made me wonder, would teleporting out go against the don't use your powers for personal gain rule? It's just something I think about ever since that one Turbo episode where Justin teleports to avoid bullies, and that one Ninja Storm episode where Dustin morphs to scare off some hired thugs. Suddenly, the command center alarms go off. We get a commercial bumper that gives away that Kim will make it out and defeat the monster. Okay, it's not that blatant, but I'm not a fan of these bumpers that insist on spoiling the episode's events. Back to the actual show, Alpha walks Kim through landing the plane. The other Rangers are sent to battle the Snizzard. The Rangers flipping into battle is accompanied by a group PowerCoin graphic, and it's pretty cool looking. There's another very odd choice for alteration here. Apparently, the controls in the plane had a logo on them. I never noticed, but I did notice the very obvious blur effect over the logo. Really? They weren't allowed to show a logo from nearly 20 years ago? I guess that makes sense, but it's still strange to censor something that was apparently fine throughout all the previous reruns Disney themselves were responsible for. The Rangers need Kim's help, and Kim is attempting to land the plane. Kim successfully lands the plane, but has to rush off to help her friends. Another odd blur effect is added to censor a license plate on an ambulance. The logo thing was weird, but this is infinitely weirder. License plates being blurred is something that happens regularly in television, but that's usually in news or documentaries, not in a fictional show. The ambulance isn't an incidental vehicle in the background either, it's a featured vehicle, meaning it was intentionally used for the show. On top of all that, what are the odds that in 2010, this ambulance from 1993, from its design, I'm guessing it's actually older, probably late 80s to 1990, that was used for a TV show would be active as an actual ambulance and still be using the exact same plate. Also, I just noticed the ambulance had a GMC logo on the front that was also blurred. This whole scene isn't even necessary to keep. There's already scenes of Kim running from the plane. Why wasn't this cut instead of Squat pouring the potion? Wouldn't that make everything simpler? Cut a scene that apparently requires extensive edits. Keep a scene that's plot relevant. Another weird thing, not from the reversion, but from the original as well, most ambulances have ambulance written out backwards on the front, so they're easily identified in rearview mirrors. This one doesn't. Maybe that wasn't a thing yet in 1993 California, so I'll give the benefit of the doubt on that one. Kim joins her friends with her power bow. She manages to shoot Snizzard's Zapple Apple atop his head and destroy him. This is one of my favorite early episodes, and I'll definitely be sticking to the original when I feel like watching it. Most of the episodes so far in the reversion have been fine. I wouldn't choose to watch them over the originals, but I wouldn't object to them either. Then there's this one. The edits are occasionally amusing. My favorite is sheep marching over the heads of Bulk and Skull when they fall asleep. Even then, I take the episode actually being complete over a few added effects. This is the first reversion episode to actually kinda get me mad. There were so many instances of scenes that could have been enhanced by newer technology, but instead they wasted all their time cutting a plot-relevant scene and blurring out logos that must have been okayed, but they were blurred anyway. Cutting the scene of Squat recontextualizes the episode's events. Without him clearly poisoning Steve's soda can, the viewer could potentially misinterpret what's going on as Steve just falling unconscious on his own, and it's just a coincidence that Rita planned on doing that herself. Here's some interesting stuff about the actual episode. The plot to this episode was originally completely different. The monster was the same, but that was about it. Kim has a boyfriend, Matt. Boom Comics flashbacks. Matt tells Kim she's the prettiest girl in the universe, and a petty, jealous Rita poisons Kimberly with a magic apple that puts her to sleep. The Rangers battle Snizzard while Alpha tries to wake Kimberly up. Eventually, he tries kissing her on the forehead, and it works. The rest plays out the same, I assume. I wonder, how does Alpha kiss? What part of his head are considered lips? The plot is clearly homaging Snow White with a poison apple and a witch jealous of somebody being called pretty. Snow White was awoken from her magic sleep by a prince's kiss. Does this imply Alpha is a prince? He was built by a king and considers him a father, so yeah, this scrapped plot would have foreshadowed Alpha being built by King Lexian. So anyway, I like the original episode, not so much this reversion. Maybe the reversion should have dug up the Snow White version and meddled with that. So that's it for this one, hope you enjoyed it. See ya.